Today's video, I'm going to be predicting the Champions League, all the way from 36th to 1st position. I've got this lovely tier list with all the Champions League teams. And at the end of the video, after predicting the table on where each team is going to finish, I'm going to predict the winner of the entire thing, who I think can get all the way through to the final and win. So let's get predicting. Starting off with Ajax, I think they're going to qualify. I think it's going to be very close. They could easily finish in the elimination zone. Ajax has obviously been a very dominant force in the Eredivisie for such a long time. But last season, they did kind of bottle it to PSV, the title of the Eredivisie, in the last couple of weeks. But overall, Ajax is a solid side. But the reason why I don't have them higher, like all the way up here, is number one, there's better teams in terms of quality. Number two, last year in the Europa League, they did do okay, but didn't impress me to the point where they could finish any higher. Arsenal, now I think they're gonna win the league table. This doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna win the entire Champions League, as proved to last season. Liverpool finished first in the league table for the Champions League, yet they did not win it. PSG did, and they did terrible in 15th. I mean, Arsenal, they have a huge chance of winning the Champions League and Premier League. They've got some great players. With Victor Gyökeres now in, they are absolutely balling. David Raya in goal. The defence, amazing. They've got good squad depth now after reinforcing in backup options, and they've now got a proper striker. Everything seems to be going Arsenal's way. Atalanta up next. Now, they did pretty well in the Champions League last season in terms of the table. They managed to finish around here. So they've already proved they can finish there, so I don't see why they can't finish there again. They finished third in the Serie A. At the moment, they're undefeated in the Serie A, 1 win and 2 draws. They are definitely a strong contestant yet again in the Champions League. Obviously, they did get knocked out by Club Brugge quite early on in the playoffs to get to the round of 16 last season, and maybe something similar will happen again. But I feel strong that they'll at least get to the playoffs. But their first game is against PSG. But then after that PSG game, I feel like there's a lot of decently winnable games for Atalanta on how good they are. Against Club Brugge, Slavia Praha, even Frankfurt, they can definitely hold their own, especially Frankfurt not having Ekitike anymore. Atalanta could even get some points at Marseille. I think they have a strong side and they can get a lot of points in the fixtures that they've got. Over to Atletico Madrid, and I'm just quickly looking at their fixtures. To start off away from home against Liverpool, that's going to be really tough. They're at home to Frankfurt, but Frankfurt can still hold their own. And then they have to go away to Arsenal. Union should be a victory, but then against Inter as well, there's like quite a few, even against PSV, they are not finishing in the top 8. They've got some really hard fixtures, which I don't think they will be capable of getting enough points to finish in the top 8. So I would say possibly behind Atalanta, based on their fixtures. Over to Bayer Leverkusen, and really, looking at their fixtures, I feel like they're easier fixtures than Atletico Madrid's. I will put them in the same category. Obviously, they have lost some big players, like Wirtz to Liverpool, Frimpong to Liverpool, and they have also lost Granit Xhaka, which was an absolutely beast in the central defensive midfielder. So they've lost a lot, so I definitely don't feel like they can be in here. But looking at their fixtures, there are some tough ones obviously, like Newcastle or Man City. But the rest, they are, oh, and PSG. But the rest of them, I feel like they could get some points. They start off against Copenhagen, which I think they probably will get 3 points. Yes, they have lost the players as I mentioned, but they still got Patrick Schick and Grimaldo. But if they did have those 3 players that they are now missing, I would consider them to be a bit higher. Nikau Kalvak's side, Borussia Dortmund, is up next. Looking at their side, they've still got the likes of Brandt in the midfield. Obviously bringing Joe Bellingham, he's more of a future project at the moment. They're still holding their own in the Bundesliga. They did well last season, and they are a good side. They start off the season against Juventus, which is going to be tough, but I think Borussia Dortmund can match Juventus's quality. They do have to play Man City as well, but Man City still have their problems. So I don't feel like their fixture list is terrible. It's reasonable. They can definitely get points, and they're definitely a good side. I feel like I might put them above Atalanta because I think their quality of the side is better, but there isn't really much in it. These are so interchangeable, and I've changed my predictions so much. Over to Chelsea, and I'm going to put them there. Chelsea, I feel like, is a huge contender to win the Champions League. I think one reason why I really strongly feel like they have a big chance is, number one, they are a good team. Number two, their squad depth is amazing. I think they've got one of the best squad depths out of any of these Champions League teams. And if you think about it, PSG won the Champions League, right? Well, Chelsea thrashed PSG in the final of the World Cup. Chelsea probably won't win the league title in the Premier League, especially after dropping points against Brentford, but under Enzo Maresca, I think everything is balanced and calm, and there's like no real big problems at Chelsea. And they've proved that they can win these big competitions like the World Cup. And because they won the World Cup, I'm feeling quite strong about Chelsea finishing in the top 8, especially with their good squad depth. But Bayern Munich for their first game is definitely going to be tough. Athletic Club, now they are a good side. They finished, was it 4th in La Liga last season? I believe so, joint with Villarreal. And the likes of Nico Williams, which is one of the main players I always remember. His speed is going to be crucial in the attack, and their side overall is good. And Simmons in goal. He is a good goalkeeper. And I feel like they're another really good quality side that could easily come into this bracket here. Actually, looking at Athletic Club's fixtures, they start off against Arsenal, gonna be really tough. The next game's against Dortmund, gonna be really tough. Next game's against Qarabag should be pretty decently clean sailing. Then it's against Newcastle United, which is gonna be pretty decently tough. Should be an easy sailing game against Slavia, and then against PSG, and then against Atalanta, then against Sporting, which is going to be reasonably tough, but I think they've got that one in the bag. But there's quite a few teams which I don't think they're going to be able to win against, so I don't know. I'm feeling that they may finish lower than Atletico Madrid. I'm going to put them there for now. Club Brugge, obviously last season they just about got through to the playoffs, finishing in 24th in the Champions League. And then they obviously beat Atalanta, but this time round I don't think it's going to happen. Sorry, but I feel like there's slightly more better sides this time round in the Champions League than it was before, and that's going to push you down to the elimination zone. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do push into the playoffs. Frankfurt, now I do feel like they are going to get into the playoffs above Ajax. I mean, you start off against Galatasaray, which isn't going to be easy, but I feel like you will be the favourites. Then you're against Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, Napoli, Atalanta, Barcelona. Those 5 games, you could lose them all. I'm not really confident, especially with those games. And then the last game for the table was against Tottenham, which is tough. Really, against Qarabag and against Galatasaray is where you're going to pick up points in my eyes, and maybe a point against Tottenham. So really, I definitely feel like more on the lower part, because your fixtures are incredibly hard. I'm going to put you above Ajax because I think you're a better quality side, but really, it's mainly about the fixtures, what fixtures you get given, that's going to really decide where you finish. And especially with the loss of Ekitike, it's going to be a bit tough. Barcelona start off against Newcastle. Easy win for Newcastle, right? Probably not, but without Lamine Yamal, it is going to be tough at Newcastle. Against PSG and against Newcastle, they could definitely pick up points in both those games. And against Olympiacos, definitely they'll pick up points. And against Club Brugge, and probably will pick points up against Frankfurt. And then they've got Copenhagen and Slavia Praha. I feel like their fixtures, they're going to do pretty well. Very well, Barcelona. They could even be first. It's really hard to decide who's going to be first. Obviously, Xabi Alonso is doing a quite fine job of Barcelona, and they've just got a phenomenal side. Now with Marcus Rashford, they're going to be cooking. I mean, that's even more quality added into there. Alongside Pedri, Gavi, Lewandowski, still 37, he's still doing well. And Akunde, which he's a very fast defender, going to be crucial defensively. So Barcelona, they've got it all, and the fixtures are playing into their hands quite nicely, I think. Over to Bayern Munich, I think their fixtures are okay, and the quality of the side is phenomenal. They got back on winning ways in terms of winning league titles again, and that's surprising when they've got Harry Kane, but they did a good job there. But with Harry Kane up top, and on how dominant they are in the Bundesliga last season, I'm pretty confident that they're going to be able to finish above Dortmund in maybe around 9th. FC Copenhagen, I feel like elimination is probably where you're going to finish. You have signed Youssoufa Moukoko, which is an absolute young gem. That's a really good signing. You got the likes of Delaney, which again is good, but it's not like world class. I don't see any world proper class players. You're gonna have a tough time against all the rest of the Champions League sides, and you do have one of the weaker sides, Inter Milan, and they start off against Ajax away from home. I wouldn't be surprised if they drop a point in that game, but after that, it's pretty clean sailing. You're facing Union, Kairat, but near the end, you are facing the likes of Dortmund, Liverpool, Arsenal, and even Atletico Madrid. So it's going to be quite a big, tough ride. And obviously you are Champions League finalists from last season. So you proved that you can do well in the Champions League. So I feel like you are going to hold your own, even though you do have quite a few tough fixtures, like I've said. But you might be able to get some draws and maybe even win, because really, you're quite equal against the tough fixtures you do have. Over to Kairat and, Elimination Zone. Your debutants to the Champions League. So you're not really experienced here, and you're doing well in Kazakhstan, but that's Kazakhstan. It's not the same quality of league like the Premier League or Bundesliga or La Liga, but you are doing well, and I would love to see you randomly progress into the round of 16 quarterfinals and shock me and prove me wrong, because I always love an underdog, but I'm afraid you are definitely one of the favourites to be in the elimination zone. Bodo Glimt. Now, I wouldn't be too surprised, like with Copenhagen or Club Brugge, could they finish here? Maybe, because in the Europa League, they got all the way to the semi-finals. That's impressive, but they came against Spuds and lost 2-0. I think they will finish above Kairat, but not above Copenhagen and Club Brugge. But they do have one of the weaker sides. Galatasaray, their home form is going to be very crucial, and I am tempted to put them in the top 24, but they're just going to miss out. And yes, I know they had such a dominant performance in the Turkish league, 30 wins out of 36 games, but I'm just thinking there is other really good sides other than Galatasaray in there. I just feel like it's so competitive that it's going to be very, very hard. I mean, the likes of Villarreal is probably going to be in here somewhere in a very similar position to Galatasaray. And there's other teams. Look at all the other teams I have to put somewhere. So it's going to be very tough. I mean, they've done well to keep hold of Osimhen up front. Now, he's a player we all know, and he is brilliant, and Galatasaray is brilliant. And the home fans, whoa, they are crazy. So I will put you the top of the elimination pile. Trust me, loads of different variations of my Champions League predictions. I do have Galatasaray in this segment, so you never know. Over to Juventus, and looking at their fixtures, I feel like they can win quite a lot of them. I'm going to put them above Atalanta here. I feel quite confident with Juventus. I mean, they're obviously not winning Serie A after Serie A, but they're still, you know, in the top 5 last year, weren't they? With Atalanta. I feel like Juventus does have slightly easier fixtures than Atalanta. Dortmund's a tough first game, but at home, they might be able to get a point. And the quality of sides, very interchangeable. I could do this, I could do that, I could even do that. It's very hard overall. Over to Liverpool, and I'm gonna put them up here. Honestly, you could change any of this. You could change this all around. Really, it's just random where it finishes between 2 and 8. But I do feel like Liverpool is definitely a strong contender to win the Champions League. And they will definitely finish in the top 8 because they have won all their games in the Premier League. They've got a phenomenal side. Despite loads of departures, they brought in loads of players. Szoboszlai is playing fantastic in right back. Ekitike is a great hold-up striker and a great finisher. Now with Isak as well coming into Liverpool, everything's starting to gel together and looking really good for Liverpool. The only reason why I haven't properly put them higher, even though really it doesn't matter where I put Liverpool between 2 and 8, but the reason why I don't have them higher, if I would give a reason, is probably because the first 4 games in the Premier League, they have won them all, but their goals have only come really late on. And really, just about scraping a 1-0 win against Burnley isn't really seriously convincing. And there are still problems defensively. They have been a bit leaky, and they were lucky in a couple of games, like I said with Burnley and like I said with Newcastle. My gosh, that's annoying that Liverpool won at the 100th minute against my favourite team, Newcastle. But anyway, Liverpool's still a good side, so finishing there, anywhere, here, yeah, it's probably where they're going to finish. Over to Monaco, and really, I feel like they're going to have to win that game against Club Brugge. That's a must-win game. If they don't win that, eesh, you could be in their elimination zone. But looking at their transfers, they're not too shabby. Paul Pogba is back in football. Now, obviously, he's probably not going to start some games, especially in the Champions League because he hasn't played for a while. They've got the likes of Eric Dyer in, and it's a really good time for the likes of Ansu Fati to revitalise his career, because he hasn't exactly got going with a club really good. And I think Monaco's a great stepping stone for him to then go into an even better club. And I think he will succeed. He just needs to not get injured. And Balogun as well, former Arsenal player. But obviously, some of those signings are uncertain on how they're going to do. So I think they will be on the lower spectrum. But they've still got, overall, a great side other than that to finish and to qualify for the playoff round. I mean, another French club like Marseille, I feel like all French clubs are going to do pretty well. Marseille is a good team. They've got De Zerbi in charge. I mean, I've watched Brighton under De Zerbi, and they're pretty good. Really, this is practically random, right? Like, between these three clubs here, I've just randomised the order because it's going to be so close. It's going to be like Golden, for instance. Manchester City, they've got some good players, some good transfers in, like Reinders, like Shirky. And they've already got Haaland, which is dangerous. But it's just that last year, they had so many problems. And the fact that they lost 2 in the Premier League already, I feel like the problems are still there. There's still a few problems. And it depends. With Pep Guardiola, I thought in some Champions League games last season, he could have adapted his tactics a bit more, rather than staying the same, maybe at times going a bit more defensive when he wouldn't. So I feel like Man City might still have a problem, just not as bad. Not as bad as 22nd. I will put them in and around here, because they're still an absolute great side. Newcastle United, my favourite team. Of course, maybe you could say this is biased, but I am putting Newcastle in and around this point where Manchester City is. I feel pretty confident. Now the Isak situation is over and he's gone to Liverpool, and Newcastle have actually brought in Wissa and Nek Voltemada. Nek Voltemada started off after coming back from international duty from Germany straight away with a heading goal against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and that's Newcastle's first win for months. I know that doesn't sound good on Newcastle's part, but we challenged Liverpool even with 10 men. We played amazing. We still lost, but we still managed to score 2 goals and play amazing. And overall, against Aston Villa, we played well. We can ignore the Leeds game because we looked very dull in that game, but overall in the Premier League, we are doing really well, and our side overall in squad depth has improved. And remember, last time we were in the Champions League, we did batter the likes of PSG. And I know we do have Barcelona in our first game, but I think we might be able to nick a point, maybe? At St James's Park, and Barcelona not having Lamine Yamal definitely gives us a big chance. But obviously, I'm not going to go all the way and put us up here, because there's loads of other good sides, so it's going to be tough. I'll be happy if we can get into the round of 16 / quarterfinals. Olympiacos, a very good Greece team, but even though they are a really solid team, I'm struggling. I will put them in elimination zone. I don't know what order I want to do it, but they're definitely going to be more the higher part of the elimination zone. I'm going to put them in between Club Brugge and Copenhagen. They're a great side, and in the Europa League, they didn't do too shabby in the table, but I'm going to have to put a team in there. And then Paphos, I'm sorry, Paphos, you're going all the way down there. You're a fairly new club, being created by merging 2 teams together, was it? Back in like 2014. So this is a club which is 11 years old. I know they've signed David Luiz, but he's like 38 now. But I'm sure he's still going to be able to do pretty decent stuff with Paphos. But really, David Luiz is getting on a bit now, isn't he? I remember him at Chelsea, he was an absolute unit. But other than that, I don't think they've got the quality to step up to finish, even in the high part of the elimination zone. Paris Saint-Germain, I'm putting up here. Of course I am. I think they can easily contest again for the Champions League. They've obviously got a strong side. I don't think there's anything more to say other than They were the former Champions League winners. I don't think they will win the Champions League again, because that is rare to happen. But I feel confident they'll be able to get into the top 8. To go low down the table again would be quite a low chance to happen. PSV, similar to Ajax, I'm putting them in a similar position. I'm going to put them a bit higher up because they won the league and because I think they're looking a bit more exciting than Ajax. But I could be wrong. I think starting off against Union is a really good first game, and I think they're going to be able to win that quite well. Although actually looking at their fixtures more in depthly, they do play Union, but they then play Leverkusen. So I feel like they'll get 3 points against Union, maybe a point against Leverkusen. Against Napoli, that's going to be really, really tough. If they don't win against Olympiacos and Union, then they're in the elimination zone. But those 2 wins would get you around 6 points. Against Liverpool, we've probably got no chance. Atletico Madrid, it's going to be tough. Newcastle, it's going to be tough, but I could see them picking up a point against us. Then against Bayern, it's going to be really tough. So I don't know. PSV, I'm going to put maybe to the lower spectrum because their fixtures are pretty hard. It's going to be pretty tight. I feel like Ajax's fixtures, they might pick up maybe a couple more points than PSV. But PSV is definitely close to being in the elimination zone. Not because of the quality of the team, but they've got some really hard fixtures. Karabag is up next, and I'm putting you last. I mean, if you finished last in the Europa League, which is a easier competition than the Champions League, you're probably going to finish last in the Champions League, right? I don't think there's any more logic to put. Sorry, Karabag, but I think you might finish last. Real Madrid, I mean, their side is just incredible. All parts of their game is absolutely secured and is almost perfect down to the last minute detail. On paper, they're possibly one of the best, maybe the best team. So they're definitely going between 2 and 8. I mean, the likes of Courtois in goal, no one's going to score past him. Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Jr. I mean, he's practically a Ballon d'Or winner, almost he was. Rudiger, which can ping a long pass and create a lot from a defensive position. And he's very fast, he's physical. Like, I could keep on naming all these players because they're such a good team. Jude Bellingham, I almost forgot him because there's so many good players. So yeah, it's no doubt about it. They're going to get far and they could easily win this entire tournament. Union's up next, and really, Club Brugge and Union, they're very similar quality, aren't they? So I'm going to put them right next to each other. Slavia Praha, I think I'm going to put you all the way down around here, because to be fair, you're doing well in the Czech League, but that's the Czech League. The Czech League is no Bundesliga, no La Liga, no Premier League. The fact that they only finished 30th in the Europa League as well, and how competitive, and these are like the best of the best teams, of course they are, it's going to be very, very tough for them. So I think they will finish in the lower spectrum. It's going to be tough. Benfica, I'm going to put them in an elimination zone alongside Sporting. Sporting, if you had Gyökeres, honestly, it's that close between Sporting, Benfica, Galatasaray and PSV. It's that close that if you had Gyökeres, you could easily be up here instead of PSV or Ajax. Like, it's so close that I don't know. And it feels wrong putting both Portuguese teams here. It really does, but I mean, you can't put everyone here. And considering there's 3 teams left, I can't really put Napoli in the elimination zone. I can't put Tottenham in the elimination zone. Villarreal, I can't either. These are 3 really good teams. Napoli, I'm putting here, and they could easily compete. Obviously, they weren't in the Champions League, but in Serie A, they're amazing. I mean, look at their side already. Number 1, they're in charge by Conte. I remember him at Spurs manager in particular, but he is a good enough manager for Napoli. Alongside that, they are bringing in Manchester United players. They've already brought in McTominay, which improved. He is fantastic, isn't he? They bring in Rasmus Højlund, and can I say, Rasmus Højlund leaving from Manchester United to Napoli, he's going to have a massive improvement, because for some reason, loads of people always say it, when a player leaves Manchester United, they go from meh to amazing. So I'm sure under Conte and how Napoli are playing in Serie A, they're going to really thrive with the signings they've made. So I feel like their fixtures that I'm looking at, they can compete and they can get a lot of points. Spuds, I do feel like they're going to finish between 9 and 16. I don't think they're going to be really good. I mean, in the Europa League, they did finish 4th, and they did obviously win the Europa League. But really, their side, I don't think is enough. They're not as good as all these other teams in my opinion. Under Thomas Frank, Spurs are going to be a better team. It's not going to be as reckless as Ange Postecoglou football. Looking at Tottenham's games, they start off with Villarreal, which is going to be tough, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get some points there. Bodo Glimt, they've already proved they can beat them in the semi-final of the Europa League. Monaco, definitely a winnable game. Copenhagen, winnable game. PSG, you know, it is what it is. But then Slavia, that should also be a winnable game. Dortmund's going to be tough. And then Frankfurt. So really, they've got decent fixtures and they've got a decent side. With the likes of Kudus, Richarlison properly being back from all his injury business. The midfield has a really good balance, and if they can keep Van de Ven and Romero fit, that defence is sorted. And then Villarreal, I'm going to put around here. I think Villarreal could definitely finish in the elimination zone because there is a lot of tough fixtures and they have to win against teams like Paphos and Copenhagen to crucially be here. But I wouldn't be surprised if they drop off even further. Same with Atletico Club. But I'm just confident with these two established La Liga teams that they're going to do pretty well and at least get to the playoffs. There is my final league table of the Champions League. But who do I think is going to win the entire thing? And it's really, really hard because there are loads of contestants to win it. PSG won it last year, so them winning it again, I don't think will happen. And obviously, Chelsea and Napoli are two teams which wasn't actually in the Champions League last season. And thinking about it, the likes of Arsenal, I thought were going to win the Champions League last season, and they did not. And for them to win it, I don't know, it just feels like they always come short to win the Champions League or Premier League. So I don't think they're going to win the Champions League here. I do feel like they're going to win the Premier League though. But it's just history that kind of doubts me of Arsenal. And then we get into Barcelona and Real Madrid. Now, both these sides are fantastic, but I don't want to go boring. Plus, I've got a sense feeling. It isn't just me not wanting to go for the obvious teams. I've just got a sense feeling as well that Napoli and Chelsea are going to be in the final. Don't get me wrong, Liverpool's fantastic and all, and they will get far, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win it, but I'm just thinking, Chelsea, their squad depth is amazing, and also when it comes to European competitions and worldwide competitions, they're not too shabby. They won the Conference League last season, they won the World Cup against PSG. In fact, they didn't just win it, they battered PSG, and really, they are a sensational side, the likes of Cole Palmer, Fernandes and Caicedo in the central midfield. And their midfield is cooking. The likes of João Pedro there is cooking, and they've got so many backup options. So I feel like they will definitely be contesting, but Napoli with Kevin De Bruyne, oh my god, Kevin De Bruyne is at Napoli. He is going to thrive and play really well. The Napoli project's looking really well. I'm tempted to go Napoli, but I'm going to go Chelsea. Maybe it's English biasness, but Chelsea seem to do really well in these kind of competitions, as proven with the Conference League and World Cup. And they get things over the line with these knockout competitions. So I'm confident with Chelsea that they're going to win the Champions League. Their squad depth can definitely cope with the Champions League and Premier League. Inter Milan, you still have a good side with Bastoni at the back, Çalhanoğlu, an overall great side, but considering when they were in the final, they didn't beat PSG, and it wasn't really great for them in the final, in my opinion. I don't feel like they've got a chance to be in the final. And now with extra competition like Napoli and Chelsea in here, which is different competition to last year, it's going to spice it up, and Chelsea is going to win the Champions League. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Am I an absolute turd for thinking Chelsea are going to win the Champions League? Let me know in the comments. But for now, have a very lovely, lovely day, and I will see you next time. Toodaloo.